What's going on, ProGuides fam, and welcome back to another Wild Rift video. My name is Kangas, and today we're going to be giving you 10 tips that'll help you jump into Wild Rift with ease. The goal is to create a solid foundation for learning, so try to apply what you can from this video in your games. Now let's get into it.
Tip number 1, try out as many champs as you can. When you start playing Wild Rift, you definitely won't know what every champion does unless you've played League before. You should try out a bunch of different champions so you can learn about the differences between roles and playstyles. These playstyles can vary from tanky frontliners like Malphite to glass cannon hyper carries like Vayne. A good rule of thumb is to start with an easier champion like Garen and Malphite before you move your way up to the more mechanically challenging ones like Vayne and Camille. Once you find out a few champions that you enjoy, stick with them. The best way to get better at the game starts with your first main. Don't worry about tier lists or opinions. Any champion can reach any rank. Pick who you like and take time to learn their strengths and weaknesses. Number 2, learn the language. If you're new to the League of Legends universe, you might not know everything that players are saying. There's a ton of lingo that comes with playing this game, and it'll take you some time to learn. Most players who play Wild Rift will have come from League of Legends or another MOBA game and might assume that everyone they're playing with understands these terms. If you're a brand new player, we released a complete beginner's guide to Wild Rift where you can go through terminology and other useful information that you'll need to know. Communication is extremely valuable in Wild Rift, so making sure you're up to speed is also super important. Tip number 3, stay behind your minions. During the laning phase, it's important to stand with your friendly minions whenever you can. If you stand outside of them, you can open yourself up to being easily hit by skill shots and taking free damage. When you're inside the safety of your minion wave, try to focus your attention on last hitting when you can. But if the enemy is looking to attack you, remember to always trade back. Never take damage for free. You can also use this concept against your opponents. When your minions are getting low, look to trade with the enemy laner. They'll have to pick between trading back with you or losing the minion gold, a lose-lose scenario. If you see that your opponent just used their abilities to hit the minion wave, you can step up and attack them. They won't have any way to fight back easily. On top of this, every time a champion auto-attacks, they're locked in an animation. Use that time to effectively trade with the enemy laner. Understanding how minions affect laning phase is really important, and can be the difference between you starting a lane kingdom or pinging your jungler for help. The next tip is learn the map. When you start out playing Wild Rift, it's easy to just walk into one of the 3 lanes, Baron, mid, and Dragon lane. But what do you do after you've taken your turret? How do you position yourself to take Dragon? Understanding higher level concepts, things like jungle timers and vision, are incredibly important when it comes to learning the game. As a laner, don't be afraid to roam around a bit and interact with the other champions in the game. The support and mid role are especially good at roaming, so give those a try so you can experience a skirmish in the river. It might seem a bit scary to jungle, but doing so will really help you learn about clearing camps and jungle pathing. There's a lot more to Wild Rift than just fighting champions in lane, so get out there and give it a try yourself. Tip number 5, set up your loadout before you queue up. Before you load into a game, it's important to have a general idea of what the best items and runes are for your chosen champion. Most champs have an optimal rune setup, and items are often fairly straightforward. There are YouTube channels, like ProGuides, that can tell you the best builds and loadouts for each champ. Making sure to have these set up for yourself will increase your chances of winning before you even load into the Rift. Once you get further into your Wild Rift journey, you'll know exactly what runes you want for each matchup and game. For now, try to use runes that others have success with. The recommended runes are a decent place to start if you want to focus on just learning the game first. Tip number 6, communicate with your team. It can be hard to guess what your teammates want to do, and the outcome of Wild Rift games are heavily decided on teamwork, so communication is key. A great way to easily communicate with your team is through the ping function. It's a good habit to try and let your team know when you're coming to gank or when you want to engage or disengage. If you're struggling to get on the same page with just pings, chat can help get your team in sync. If you're not sure what to do in the game, ask your team what the win condition is. If a teammate seems lost, offer them a helping hand. Teamwork makes the dream work. Tip number 7, make sure to use your wards. The number 1 mistake I see from newer players is that they underestimate the importance of warding. In Wild Rift, since most of the map is obscured by fog of war, knowledge is power. There are 3 major ways to gain vision to make better decisions. First, warding your lane bush so the enemy laner can't duck out of vision. You can also ward the enemy jungle camp so you can track the enemy jungler. The most important tip for beginners is to ward the river so you know if you're going to get ganked. Remember, wards are free. Don't let them just sit in your inventory, drop them. I promise you, they'll level up your gameplay. Tip number 8, mute those toxic players. The League of Legends community is notorious for having a good amount of toxic players and trolls, so don't feel bad when you use the mute button. The chat is a tool to help you win more games, but if what's being said isn't helping you win, make sure to drop a mute on them and just move on. These players will often flood the chat with hate, so ignore them and keep playing the game. Keep trying your best, and if it seems doomed, focus on yourself and don't fall into the habit of typing back. Tip number 9, round out your team comp. In Wild Rift, you'll be team fighting often, so having a balanced team composition is vital to coming out ahead. Every team needs a balance of tankiness, damage, crowd control, and wave clear. The first step is to think about what champions your team has picked, and what champions would complement those picks. Does your team have lots of damage but no engage? Pick Malphite. Do you need wave clear? Luck and Orianna. Enemy team has a bunch of assassins? Janna is the choice. Laning matchups are important in Wild Rift to win the early game, but the team with the better composition will usually emerge victorious. If you're looking to just insta-lock your champion for practice, you can't always expect your team to build around you. If you're trying your best to win the game, talk with your team about what kind of picks to play together. Tip number 10, help your teammates out. Every time you queue up for a game alone, it's rolling the dice. You're matched with 4 random teammates, and sometimes all of your teammates will stomp their lanes and carry you to a smooth victory. Sometimes they'll relentlessly feed and make the game impossible. It's totally normal to have games like this, so just do your best to help them out when you can. If you can secure a lead, it's important to push your lane and roam around the map to help out your team. The most effective way to win the game isn't to try and solo push 1v5, it's to win the entire map. Even one kill can completely turn around a losing matchup, so try to make the most out of the windows that you have to roam. Also, if your laner can roam, make sure to ping your teammates back. This will let your team focus on their own gameplay with the trust that you'll let them know if they're in trouble.
Now, these tips definitely aren't everything you need to know to become a fierce competitor on the Rift, but they'll give you a major head start. Wild Rift has an incredible level of depth in every area of the game, so don't feel too frustrated if it doesn't all come natural immediately. It'll come with time. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments below how your climb is going and any tips you think we should have included. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more Wild Rift guides and updates, and of course, best of luck on the Rift.